All right, CoastLife, we were talking earlier about how much we are seeing pink.
Yes.
Everywhere, everywhere. So that's all because of the Barbie movie, of course. We're going to talk about how the Barbie movie is taking over right now. So, of course, we're bringing in our local movie expert, Rob Rector. Welcome back to the CoastLife.
Thank you for sending me the memo, too, to wear pink. So make sure that
we got our talk show Barbie outfits
on.
Exactly. You were telling us something interesting, too, about the color Barbie pink.
Yeah, so there was an international incident set off by this movie because apparently the very specific Barbie pink color was used in all the set decorations and the costuming and everything, so it led to an international shortage of whatever specific pink that Barbie was. So I think this is just a knockoff version of it. So this is the Skipper version or something.
Skipper.
So yeah, right.
It's giving Ken.
Hardly Ken. Ken if he went through the wash a few times maybe. So
it looks great, but that's just one example of how this movie has just taken over minds. And if I remember when it first came out, this idea of the Barbie movie, people kind of laughed it off. Oh, maybe it'll be a kids movie. That's not the case, and it hasn't even come out yet. So in your opinion, what makes this movie so amazing already for people?
I think it's the approach that it's taking, because if you saw the trailer for it, the trailer says, if you like Barbie, you'll love this movie. If you hate Barbie, you'll love this movie. So they're reaching out to an entire audience, because as we were talking about earlier, you know, sometimes it's fallen out of favor, especially when you talk about, you know, body image and body positivity and so on, and is it really good for girls and whatnot. And they have kind of embraced that whole controversy and kind of wrapped it up in it. So I think it seems like it, having not seen the film yet myself, but it seems like it's kind of taken a page of like the Brady Bunch movie or the Lego movie or 21 Jump Street, where they're making fun of it, but they're also appreciating it simultaneously. So I think that's a really, it looks like it's going to be a really interesting approach.
I think Barbie's always kind of had that reputation of like, is she not inspirational for young girls?
Right.
On one hand, you know, she's perfect in every way, from the color coordination to, I mean, she's always on point, but on the flip side, there's not a job Barbie hasn't had. She can do anything she puts her mind to.
She's got her doctorate degree, she's been to space, you know, and now they have introduced throughout the years, you know, all the different types of dolls for those segments of the population that might be underserved. So, you know, you have all different types to hopefully speak to those girls who don't feel like they are, you know, the perfect frame of a traditional Barbie doll. So, but it looks like, and the director they chose, Greta Gerwig, who is an actress, a writer, and a director. She did Lady Bird, and she did the most recent adaptation of Little Women, both of which were just excellent films. And she's drawn from a lot of inspiration from literature about body positivity to like 40s musicals as well too. So it looks like it's something that's going to be, I know it's cliche, but it feels like there's something for everyone regardless of what your take on the whole Barbie phenomenon is, that there's going to be something in here that you're going to enjoy.
It's going to be fun. I think one of my favorite details from the previews that have come out is when she steps out of the shoes and her toes are still pointed, because I've always walked on my toes. And so now I have an excuse where people are like, oh, did you dance? And I'm like, no. Like I could be just like Barbie.
Exactly.
That's so funny.
And there's a lot of people who are going to be involved in it. Everyone from, you know, we have Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie, who is just phenomenal, seems to be phenomenal in it, and Kate McKinnon, who plays like kind of the fairy godmother, but like the one that lives like in a troll house or something. John Cena is going to be in it. So Dua Lipa has a part in it too. What's that?
Simu Lee, I believe, is going to be in it. Simu
Yes,
Liu.
exactly. So, you know, they've got it, Will Ferrell, you know, it's a nice eclectic cast, and it just looks like good summer fun that's original, you know, and I think a lot of people are kind of craving that and we'll talk about sequels, but this is something not original per se, but an original take on something that we're all familiar with.
That's a good point. I think it is expected to just kind of be like a light, fun, poking some fun at itself movie that we've all, like you said, been wanting, and an easy watch.
And it's a cultural institution. I mean, there's not anyone who doesn't know who Barbie is.
Right.
You know, I mean, even if they haven't played with them or what have you, they still know the cultural phenomenon that is Barbie.
That's right.
Absolutely. Now, you said we were talking about sequels and other just movies that are coming out this summer. Talk a little bit more about some of the other summer blockbusters coming our way.
So we've had a few already. In fact, Guardians of the Galaxy right now, Volume 3 is so far the #1 of the summer. And we've had Fast X and Spider-Verse, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And I was saying, we were talking before, we're getting ready for like a big pileup of big movies. And they're going to be back to back to back. Starting this weekend coming up, we'll have Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And then it has 2 weeks to get its legs before we get into the latest Mission Impossible. Let me get it right. Mission: Impossible Dead Reckoning, Part 1.
That was impressive.
So grammatically correct. So then we have that coming out, and then not even 2 weeks after that, you're going to have both the Barbie movie and Oppenheimer. And it's going to draw from the same crowd, I'm sure. But I'm kidding. But but both of those are supposed to be really, really big movies because one's directed by Christopher Nolan, so he's got his big fan base as well too. And those are coming like right at the same time. So I mean, it's going to be like Route 1 on a rainy day in the summer at the box office. There's going to be back to back to bumper to bumper. So
if you're a girl that had a brother, then you can be a Christopher Nolan girly and a Greta Gerwig girly.
Exactly. I don't see why they couldn't have a Barbie character in Oppenheimer and just lighten the mood a little bit.
Exactly.
You know, it's kind of a downer.
I would go see it if they had that.
Absolutely. It needs some splashes of pink, you know.
Amazing. Well, we were talking earlier about this time of year. Like you said, it is going to be busy at the box office. So I'm going to leave you with that little teaser. Because we're going to talk about why this time of year a lot of great movies are coming out. You're not going to want to miss what Rob has to say. Don't go anywhere. You're watching CoastLife, and we are back talking about movies, some of the best coming out this summer. So, of course, we're back with Rob Rector on the CoastLife couch. Now, before we get into the blockbuster, the history, why so many great movies are coming out right now, we have a question for you.
Okay.
Okay, so earlier this week, Leah and I were talking. The Princess Leia dress is up for auction right now. We talked about what movie props we would buy from an auction for $1 million if we had it. What movie props would you want to buy?
So there are two that I'm thinking of just off the dome. The first, and this kind of goes in line with what we were talking about today, but I would have to purchase the bullwhip from the original Raiders of the Lost Ark. I've had a million dime store knockoffs that you would end up injuring yourself with or terrorize a cat with. So I would love to have the authentic one that was held by Harrison Ford in there. And then the second one, and I saw it on an auction not too long ago, but it was the face hugger from Alien.
Oh.
That little xenomorph thing with the that went on the that to me, just so I could creep my kids out, walk out in the morning or wake them up in the morning with that'd be awesome. So
I knew his answer would be cool in an hour.
Right? I know.
Dang it. That's awesome. All right, well, we were talking though about movies coming out right now. I'm curious because you always seem to hear it. These movies, and they're the most anticipated, and they come out all at once. What's up with that?
Yeah, and they're called blockbuster, and that actually came from the original. So back in 1975, and prior to that, really a little bit, but 1975 was really the birth of what is now called the blockbuster, and that's a little film by an indie director. You might not have heard of him. His name's Steven Spielberg, and the film was Jaws. Jaws was released, and it literally, because it was in these single theater movie houses around the country, they would actually have people who would line up around the block, hence the term blockbuster. So that is what, and Jaws would play in the same theater for like 6 months, a year. I mean, it would play over and over and over again. So then it started to accelerate. A couple years after that, you had Star Wars, the original Star Wars, New Hope, and they realized that this is the time where kids have off from school, you can do repeat. And as the years progressed, you started to see this summer window kind of widening a little bit. So now March really starts the summer movie season when they have the big tent pole, as they call them, the tent pole films, and then it goes all the way till September. Really is when they release the ones that they hope they're going to recoup their losses on. Yeah. So now whether they've done that yet this summer remains to be seen. I know that the latest Indiana Jones film it's one of the most expensive, not only is it one of the most expensive Indiana Jones movies, but it's also one of the most expensive movies ever. I think the budget alone was at $300 million. Woo. And that's before the marketing budget. So they're probably even closer to $400 million,
Buy a couple of Princess Leia dresses with that money.
Yeah.
And it would have to recoup, it's got to give perspective, the last Indiana Jones movie, the Crystal Skull, which came out a few years ago, was $185 million. It went on to make 700 and some odd million, but, it's going to have to do a lot to recoup that budget back. Yeah.
I'm curious too, and I was just started thinking about this as you're explaining the history of the blockbuster. Obviously, when the pandemic hit and things closed down and they got back open, the movie theaters weren't packed. Do you think that the movies coming out the past couple of years, is this really what's pushing people to get back into theaters? Are you seeing it grow again?
Yes, but also we're seeing some more refined taste, I think. Like something that The Flash is a perfect example. The Flash was supposed to be, again, a tentpole film for DC. And controversies aside, put all the other stuff surrounding it aside, it was relatively well received. It was like 65% by Fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. So, it was generally just your typical superhero movie. It bombed. I mean, it barely made first place. It's now not even expected to. It had the steepest second week drop of any film, like 70%. So I think people are starting to be a lot more discerning with their taste of what they're going to go out to the theater for, and whether it is a name brand or whether it is unique and something that they haven't seen before remains to be seen. But I think they are returning, but they are also being very particular about what they're going to see.
I can see that. I mean, it's not very often that you get movies that, I think it is maybe every decade or so that you get a movie like Jaws, like Star Wars, where it's either sort of the pinnacle of the current technology that's blowing everyone's mind, or the story is so strong. And I'd be curious to see if we ever return to sort of like practical effects.
Well,
and I think that's where like Fury Road was one that I remember blew my mind because I was like, it looks so
Top Gun Maverick. That one I never would have guessed that would have been one of my favorite films of last year, much less the success that it was. But it relied a lot on practical effects, and it was just a well-oiled machine, and it did really well. But like you were saying, it was a good story. It was a solid story. It was something we all cared about. There was recognition, but not a ton. That's not something that like screamed it needed a sequel. But still, they came out in droves for it, and it turned out to be the #1 of last year. And he could do it again this year with Mission Impossible. I mean, from what I hear, it's being well received.
How do you think Avatar is going to do? Because they have them planned out. What is it, every 5 years or something?
Yes.
Do you think that should have just been left
alone? 4 more. I don't underestimate. I'll never underestimate James Cameron.
Fair enough.
I never will, because I thought the second one was really good. It was a serviceable sequel. I just don't know how much longer we can sustain that world and that new technology. I would love to see him start to go in different directions, because he is such a solid action director. We could use him on creating something new as opposed to revisiting Pandora over and over again.
That's where your head's at. That's a great point. As much as I love that movie. That's fair. Oh man, well we could talk to you all day. I have a lot of other questions, but I won't keep you guys. You'll have to come back and answer once Barbie airs too.
I just have to buy more pink.
That's fine.
Fair enough.
We will too. All right, well, hey, don't forget, let us know if you're going to see the Barbie movie, what you're most excited to see, and any movies you're seeing this weekend. Keep us in the loop.
Yeah, we want to know.
Yeah, we want to go with you. So tell us on our socials. Don't forget, you can follow us all right there, but don't go anywhere for now. We'll be right back.